All right, so today I'm going to make a quick little rant on the Corne keyboard. I have one right here. This is my Typeractive one. I've had this for about a year and a half, and it's one of the few keyboard layouts that I've stuck with. I've tried a ton. It's been about a 2-3 year journey of trying to fix my wrist pain. I work on computers all day, and the split keyboard design, having the left and right half at different intervals alone, has addressed some of the shoulder strain, neck strain, and even some of the wrist strain on the actual desk. Then upgrading that to the Corne, where I was able to actually get a better key layout, that has solved my pinching problem on my nerves in my wrists. And obviously, me working in tech, working computers all day, I really needed to find a solution, and I was willing to throw any amount of money at it. And luckily, the Corne answered the call, and I'm going to share on some reasons why I think I've stuck with this layout over the last year and a half, whereas other keyboards I've tried have not quite made the cut. So just this is like a not shameless because I'm not sponsored plug. This is a company called Typeractive. There's where both of my Corne keyboards are from. They have a really cool builder where you can select the layout. Corne is kind of a generic term used to describe this 60% layout with these up and down columns. As you notice, that's one of the first differences I kind of saw whenever I started messing around with this split keyboard, ergonomic keyboard designs. You don't have the staggered layout like you would traditionally. Getting used to this is actually pretty difficult, and I think that's why I quit when I started using the ErgoDox way back in the day. This lasted about a week and a half, and I think it was because of the non-staggered layout that caused me to trip up. Luckily, I built this one on my own. I was able to sell it for some nice little profit. However, I think now that I'm using the Corne layout, that this is one of the main reasons for that wrist pain resolution. They have obviously smaller ones without the keys. So this has 6 columns, which is a standard Corne layout, and then this one has 5. So you do lose some keys on the left and right. So this is just one half here. Imagine not having these 3 keys and just having the letters and the keys at the bottom. So it's a very small, it's like a more compact version of this. But I mean, look at this. This is already pretty compact. It's about the size of my hand, really easy to travel with, which was important to me. You can just stick these in a bag. They make plenty of cases for these that you can 3D print that will keep them safe. And then you have the Lily 58, which is a larger version of the Corne, and essentially very similar to a lot of the bigger, more popular ergonomic split keyboard designs. So why did this succeed when others failed? Well, I think it comes to the simplicity, because ErgoDox being my first split keyboard, I did enjoy the tilting feature and I enjoyed having the numbers here, but getting used to all these things at once, the split design, the tilting features, the number row keys, I think was a little too much, a little too quick. If I had to give advice to someone looking for something with their wrist pain, I would not tell them to immediately jump to them like an ErgoDox. I ended up leaving the ergonomic keyboard space because of how much I struggled with this, and I didn't really come back until a friend recommended that I try out the Moonlander. The Moonlander is a more traditional size keyboard. You still get the split functionality and you get the tilting. However, you get way more keys. You get the number keys, you get a bunch of option keys on the left and right, and then you get more keys on your thumb. Feedback from this, I did not enjoy the space keys. I felt like they were a little bit too far apart, even for my large hands. And I never really leveraged this red key at all, to be honest. I love the RGB aspect of it, not because of the coolness factor, but because I can program it whenever I use these as shift keys. It would light up specific keys so I know what I'm pressing. Really good learning curve, and I think I stuck with this one for about 3 months, and I think this is what got me comfortable with the non-staggered layout and getting good at using the layer and raise keys. So I think the Moonlander deserves a lot of credit. I think it's a great keyboard. However, if I had to recommend that someone start off and they were struggling with the Moonlander, the next one would be the Kinesis. So the Kinesis is like the gold standard, the Cadillac of ergonomic layout. But I think going from a normal keyboard to the Kinesis is actually not that difficult. You get a ton more keys. The curved well makes this like one of the most comfortable typing experiences you can get. Really, like going from ErgoDox to the Moonlander to the Kinesis, I almost stuck with the Kinesis because the comfort level you get with your hand placement and the ability to go from your pinky to this 0 button and from your other pinky to these number keys was so nice. Like the well design is super underrated. I did not enjoy the tilting as much as I thought I would. I stopped using it on the Moonlander and the ErgoDox because these feet, honestly, as hard as you tighten them, they always end up moving, so they suck. And having like this firm angle with it being actual metal and heavy made this solid. However, I would have to adjust my keyboard to my desk every single day to get the right angle. And if I slouched a little bit or I moved to the left or to the right, I found myself trying to reposition the keyboard rather than myself, and I started building some bad habits. So two things on why I didn't stick with this. One, the keys were just too many. I was not leveraging some of the keys in the middle, and the heaviness of this made it impossible to travel with. I guess you can if you really want to. However, this is just a little too bulky for my use case. And since I was getting constant wrist pain, I was trying to alleviate that. Going from like laptop to a nice desk setup back to laptop when traveling wasn't doing me any favors. So I wanted to buy something that I could travel with, that I could use consistently. I ended up keeping this for a while and moving on to a cheap Corne layout, which is where this first got introduced. Honestly, I missed the Moonlander because of the software. The software was really cool, and if I knew the Voyager was around, I completely missed this for some reason. I most likely would have went from the Moonlander to the Voyager and then been very happy. However, I did not see this in the market. I did not do my research, and I went straight for the Cadillac versus going for the Voyager. To be fair, all these keyboards are fairly priced at the same kind of range. These are around $300 to $400 range. The Kinesis being a little more expensive. The Voyager itself, I think, is one of the more premium versions of these. Yeah, like $400. The RGBs are pretty nice. Like I mentioned, having the ability to light up your keys when you hit Shift or Alt, whatever you want to call this special key. Anyways, back to this. I ended up buying a cheap Corne keyboard. These are not the official ones. I bought one on Amazon. I don't even think it's here anymore. But I bought a really cheap wired one just to see the layout, and I ended up loving it. I ended up loving it for a couple reasons. My hand would move very little when I was typing. So whenever you have the keyboard configured, there is no additional reaching, this tilting motion to get to the numbers. Instead, you use this middle key, or you can program into whatever you want to hit numbers on the top third row. So going to hit 1 or 2 was super easy, and my peaking strain was like minimal. The peaking strain was essentially alleviated because I wasn't moving crazy amounts. To be fair, the Kinesis did kind of resolve that already, but I wanted something more portable. The Corne solved kind of both those issues at once. Now, why did I end up with Typeractive? Well, Typeractive is not, first of all, not a sponsor of this. This is me spending my own money on this, and this was done a year and a half before I even had a YouTube channel. Typeractive is a really cool interactive builder, which I really appreciate, because coming into something that's as customizable as a Corne is a little daunting. I like to tinker, but when things go wrong, not everyone wants to spend the time and tinkering. I didn't want to piece a bunch of parts together from China to build the cheapest Corne possible. I've seen people do it on YouTube. I think the challenge is really great. But I did not want this to become my hobby. So I went with Typeractive because they have the builder, and they had a lot of really cool solutions that I knew I could buy that would be kind of build it on your own with some guidance, so that everything kind of played nice together. I ended up going with the Corne keyboard and the low Choco low profile. I had ideas of going to MX switches just because that was standard, and I'm used to using MX switches on my custom keyboards. However, again, for this being a portable setup, I wanted to go with low profile ones, and I'm glad I did. I ended up enjoying them quite a bit. You can see you get a real-time builder here, just so you can see how expensive this is. You can choose a normal 3D printed backplate. The second you add the premium case, it jumps up by quite a bit of money. There's different colors here. I went with the blue one. They didn't actually have the gray or the black one when I customized this about a year ago. But yeah, just so you can see how expensive this gets, you'll end up paying a premium here. Here's a 3D printed one. Let's go ahead and add a cutouts. Let's just do clear. I think the clear looks better than the color ones anyways. And then I did add a battery. I added the easy solder, which I would recommend if you're going to build it on Typeractive. The easy solder hot swap made it so that when I was having challenges with this board, with the pairing issue, I was able to debug this by removing one side and adding it to the other side, and the hot swap made that possible. Nice Nano is what gets attached to the PCB. So you attach you attach the PCB to the Nice Nano, which is the microcontroller, and it sits underneath the Nice View, which is above the Nice Nano, which is below a battery. So you get a sandwich of a Nice Nano, a battery, and a Nice View. So you can't really see it, but it's below all this. It's very compact, honestly. It's a really nice design, which I think speaks for its success. Switches, you can go red, white, pro reds, pink, and browns. My first order, and I'll probably end up showing here on the screen all the different money I've spent on Typeractive, just to show you that this is my own money and it's not a sponsored build or anything. I ended up choosing the pinks because I thought I wanted something light, and I was looking at these numbers and I was like, oh, that's pretty heavy. But do note that they do feel around 20 grams heavier than the MX counterpart. So picking pinks was a mistake. It was super light. Any typing, any like accidental brush of my pinky would cause any key to be triggered. So recommendation, stick with their recommendation, which is go with the reds. My current build now that I showed you has reds, and my kind of gaming personal use ones has browns. I'll put up a video here of me typing on both keyboards so you can kind of hear the differences, and I'll showcase how they look like in case you want to see like a real life build on that versus a builder. So I'll insert that here now. Same switches, mind you. Actually, these are reds. So their ones are browns and these are reds. They definitely feel much lighter. And I feel like the heaviness of the backplate helps a ton. These little nubs here are such a pain to install. And the Type-C just looks a little nicer because of the case. This is just kind of a hole, but this is shaped nicely. The weight is also really nice. Very difficult to move around. These are just plastic, so. All right, and then you got keycaps. Keycaps, there's plenty of options. There's also a bunch of ones you can 3D print, and I think these here look really nice. I have these on my new keyboard. You can also go with a premium version of them. And to be fair, they do come nicely wrapped, and you get plenty of options. You get little nubs for the different keys, as well as a bunch of different options in case you customize them. You can have custom logos, hearts, drop downs, tabs, all that stuff. Pretty much any kind of layout you want, the keycap combo will come with. Tinting feet, I tried to like this, did not like it. You can get solder, you can get all that stuff. And then they actually have this is new that wasn't available when I ordered the first time, which is a soldering service. So as far as what you have to do, you have to solder the Nice Nano and the Nice View onto the motherboard. So the board itself is why you go with Typeractive. All the big soldering is actually done. So all the stuff with the switches in the back is done, and all you really have to do is add the Nice Nano, the Nice View, and the battery in the back, and connect it all together. So the soldering they're doing for you is all of this Nice Nano stuff, and if you're gonna get the easy swap headers, obviously they'll do it that way. and then they'll solder the actual nice screen to the board. And again, this is all hot swappable, so they solder everything for you, but then you can pop it off if you need to. And then the premium that you pay for is this board that's already kind of laid out, that makes the hot swap switches super easy. So when you get it, this board will be soldered. All you need to do is pop in the back plate, pop in the case, pop in the switches, and then pop in the caps on there. So it makes it really easy, and it's only like 35 bucks. So if you don't have time or don't want to tinker with it, pay for it. It's pretty cool. This is a new. I paid for this on my second keyboard. I did not see this on the second time I ordered, which is full service. It's pretty wild. Good service for those that want no fuss. But as you can see, fairly quickly, this idea of Corne being a budget keyboard can go out of hand. Obviously, Typeractive is not the only company in town. There's also Keycaps. There's like a bunch. There's actually a whole Etsy community out there that builds custom Corne keyboards. It's that popular. As far as layout goes, I used actually the default layout. I've customized this so many times, and every single time I keep resetting to default, I ended up actually liking this more than all of them. I've customized these lower layers so many different times, but having the number on here makes it so much easier. It is kind of annoying to have to use two combos to get to like the shift and get to these exclamation points and special symbols. However, you get used to it, and you can't really go back once you have this kind of layout working the way you like it. This is the raise layer, which gets you all the special characters, which I first thought this was super annoying because all the stuff I use for like coding or scripting or any kind of function, things like that I use quite a bit day to day, having that on like a raise layer was really annoying. But now I really enjoy it, being able to just hit this and then being able to get the parentheses real quick and then back to numbers and back to letters. Very convenient. So I would say play with the base layer. If something is like really bugging you can't find it, then you might want to customize it. This is using ZMK. There's a lot of tinkering required for this to work properly if you start customizing it, especially with stuff that's not out of the box. There is a ZMK custom. Let me see here. I'll show it up here. There is like a web ZMK. Let's see here. There is like a ZMK Studio, which allows you to kind of edit stuff on the fly. Unfortunately, I don't have it unlocked. I'll need to add this to the config in order to unlock it. But essentially what I'll do is allow you to edit stuff in the UI and then push it to the keyboard. I have mine set up on GitHub right now because I ran into a pairing issue with the left and right side that ended up costing me some money because I ordered some parts thinking the parts were busted. Turns out it was just a firmware issue, a mismatch. I ended up wiping the left, loading a file, resetting it, doing the same for the right, then reloading my firmware to the left and right, and then the syncing fixed. So I wasted quite a bit of money, and I have a receipt for that as well, so you can see how much that cost me. Overall, I think this keyboard can be a little finicky when it comes to the firmware. If you don't want to deal with that, again, go with the Voyager or go with the Moonlander. Their software is super solid. The UI is really nice, customization, RGB, being able to share the keyboard publicly is really nice, and the flashing is like seamless, so really cool. However, I do like the fact that the Corne doesn't have the additional number rows, which is why I ended up sticking with the Corne. So yeah, rant's over. I'll share some b-roll of the Corne keyboard. Hopefully you saw that. If not, I'll add it to the end depending on how I edit the video. Check it out. If you're having wrist pain, at the very least try to invest into some kind of ergonomic setup where you're not cramped and jumbled together, causing some pain. If you want to tinker with a new technology and play around, it's actually not new technology, it's fairly old. If you want to tinker with keyboards, the Corne is a great place to start because there's so much community around it. There's plenty of Discord channels. There's plenty of people doing really cool stuff on YouTube as well. And I think for the most part, this has solved all my problems, and I don't think I need to go anywhere else for the short time. Who knows, maybe if they release another version that has maybe RGBs or has additional functionality in terms of customization that doesn't require coding, I'll look into that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. This is day 19 of recording a video every day for YouTube. Like the video, subscribe if you like the content, and I'll see you tomorrow.